What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, another episode of Hope for Rogue Players, and this will easily be the most shocking episode so far that I have done in this series. I can't even understand or comprehend what is even going on at this point. Six Samurai in the year 2017 have actually top 8 of the regionals. No, you do not need to adjust your computer screen. You are not in a dream. This is real life. This is fucking happening. Matt Lopez went to a regionals in Maine, and yeah, my boy actually made that top 8. I don't know what is going on in the Northeast right now. They got Senju's up there doing big things. They got fucking Six Samurai. I'm just waiting for the Black Wings to come out. If Black Wings top a regionals up there, dude, I am just going to ascend into Nirvana, I swear to goodness. So this was actually brought by Silverstorm Gaming once again. They have done really excellent deck profiles. In fact, I highly suggest, again, guys, that you watch this video so that you can get some of his card explanations. I got an email, I think, yesterday, and it was like, hey, my buddy Matt just topped the regionals. Cap, you should definitely check this out. It seems like it would be right up your alley. I watched this and I was like, is this real? Did this actually happen? Six Samurai haven't been part of the meta in like 4 years, guys. Like, it has just been a super drought ever since Gateway basically got banned. It's kind of just been downhill for the deck. They did win a YCS without Gateway, but still, it just has been such a long time since we've seen it, and his build is fucking crazy. But I have to say, it's crazy like a fox. Let me go ahead and load that up. So this is the deck that Matt actually ran, and the first thing that I noticed, the first thing that made me say, is that him? Is that the young Six Samurai genius? Was the fact that he ran not one, but 2 copies of MegaCapitalG. Some of you guys maybe have never even seen this card. It's been, goddamn, probably 5 years since I've seen anybody play MegaCapitalG, and it's not because MegaCapitalG is a bad card. It's because MegaCapitalG is kind of like a format-dependent card. MegaCapitalG, for those of you who don't know, it's a counter trap, and it basically says if your opponent tries to activate a spell, trap, or a monster effect that would destroy cards on the field while you control a Six Samurai card, or excuse me, a Six Samurai monster, that you actually get to negate that effect and destroy it. And it's really important to note that your opponent does not have to be trying to destroy your card. So if they try and destroy their own cards with, I don't know, like a Metaphors card, you can actually negate that. You can slow them down. But you guys just have to remember that, you know, during like the Duelist Alliance era, like monster destruction was just taken out of the game because of decks like Burning Abyss and Yang Zings and Shadows all floating. Like, no one was fucking with Torrential Tribute and Dark Hole and Regeki and stuff. But now, post Raging Tempest, we've pretty much come full circle. Like, everybody is playing things like Interrupted Slumber. Everyone's playing cards like Dark Hole. Torrential Tribute is finding its way back into the format. Regeki still sees a whole bunch of play. So with all of those monster destruction cards in the format, like, MegaCapitalG gets a whole lot of value because there's not really like a Zodiac player who wants to set up their board without having a Trident. This card counters Trident. This card counters like Archfiend Eccentric, both effects. This card can actually protect your non-Six Samurai cards on the field. Like, if your opponent tries to Twin Twister you, they try to get rid of the back row so that they can just kill the Shin, you can negate that too. So the card is really good, and it lets Six Samurai play a little differently. Like, one of the problems with Six Sams used to always be that they couldn't negate the early spells and traps that their opponent would try to bait them with. Like, if your opponent throws out, I don't know, a Tenki or a Barrage as their first card, like, it's kind of hard for you to negate that because they still have like 5 cards. They could have anything. They could have Interrupted Slumber. They could have Dark Hole. They could get rid of your Sheen fairly easily. But if you have MegaCapitalG backing you up, you know, you negate the Dark Hole, or excuse me, you negate like the Instant Fusion or the Barrage, and then you negate the Dark Hole as well. Now your opponent has lost their monster removal, and they're only sitting on like 4 cards, but they still got to deal with Shin. And the way Six Samurai has always worked, if you get through like the first turn, you're at a huge advantage because you get that negate back on your turn, you get that negate back on your opponent's turn, and you still have a really beefy 2500 monster. And the last thing about MegaCapitalG I'll say is, since it is a spell speed 3, this means that you can chain it to things like a Solemn Strike. If your opponent tries to negate your Sheen's activation, you can obviously negate their negate, which doesn't really happen in Yu-Gi-Oh that much anymore, but it is pretty cool. And alongside of that, I think it's really cool that he played Spirit as well. Spirit is another monster that you can actually equip to, or it's another way of protecting your Shien. You can basically equip it to cards like Shien. It gives you 500 attack. It makes it invulnerable temporarily to things like Regeki. The first time your opponent would try to destroy your Six Samurai Shien, you basically just detach this. Instead, you send it to the graveyard, and when it runs over a monster and destroys it by battle, you actually get the draw card. So it's really cool, and you can see that he built his deck not to be focused around like Kageki. The old Six Samurai builds used to always always be like triple Kageki and like triple Kagemusha, but he built his deck more around kind of like, I don't want to say the gateway theory, but it's kind of similar. Obviously, samurais haven't had gateway in years, but he did max out on Shien's dojo, and what that allows him to do is that allows him to go off whether or not he actually gets Kageki, because with the old Six Samurai where you were running like triple Kageki, triple Kagemusha, if you didn't open with Rhoda or Kageki or Shien Smoke Signal, you honestly a lot of times didn't have access to Six Samurai Shien, which obviously is your bread and butter, or Naturia Beast. And with you running 3 Asceticism and 3 dojos, like you should be able to get Shien on the field, or at least Naturia Beast, like every single turn consistently. I also like that he ran 2 copies of Double-Edged Sword Technique. I know that some Six Samurai fans don't like this card. I've always been a fan of Double Edge because it basically just kind of reassures that you will be able to go into additional synchros. And you have to remember that a lot of these synchros in Six Samurai, they're kind of like lockdown cards. When you can kind of make a Barkion or a Beast for 1 card, like that's pretty damn important against a deck like Metaphors where Naturia Beast can literally just beat their entire deck. And to me, it's kind of unreasonable to think that your Six Samurai Shien won't get Kaiju'd a couple of times throughout a tournament, or that maybe you won't have Magatama for the card that they're using to destroy it. So I don't know. I think that Double Edge is really good. Also, it does let you push for damage and potentially kill your opponent. I know that you take the burn damage during the end phase, but 90% of the time you're going to synchro or exceed anyway, so there's no chance that you're going to be taking burn damage if your opponent does happen to have like the Metaphos counter that you can't negate that, you know, extends their life or something like that. So I think this deck is really good. The only things I will say is, personally, if this was me, I probably would have found the way to get Soul Charge in this deck, because I think it just would have allowed for stronger openings. He is running a version that definitely wants to put Nat Beast or Shien out turn 1 consistently, because he is running 3 copies of Dojo, he is running 3 copies of Asceticism, and he should draw a decent amount of cards considering he's running 3 copies of United. So I think if he would have ran Soul Charge, it just would have been a really good way for him to like set up even more unbreakable boards and have like Naturia Beast. And then lastly, probably the Fiendish Chains. I think that those are just like player preference. Obviously, Effect Negation is super good in Six Samurai. I just kind of wonder about the Zodiac matchup and how good Fiendish Chain is against them, because if they go normal summon and then they overlay for like a Dryden and then they bait out the Fiendish Chain, they can still just overlay again and then, you know, continue their plays with like Bullhorn and stuff like that. So I think I probably, instead of going Fiendish Chain where other decks like, I guess, Infernoids, all the big Infernoids have like built-in DD Crow so they can all kind of get around, I think instead of maybe even going a third strike, which probably a lot of people would go, I probably would have went like Book of Moon and Evac Device. I mean, this is kind of an extra deck format that we live in, and I think Book of Moon is really good if you're going second, because then you can just put the Trident face down, you can kind of like do your plays. If you're dealing with like a Crystal Wing turn 1, you can put that shit face down and then you can just kind of do your plays. And I think Evac Device is just a good card overall, and those 2 cards do stop attacks. But I think that the Fiendish Chains were basically just player preference. It's not like a deck like Serteller Knights where you can bounce your Fiendish Chain with Trevor and obviously use the effect multiple times in a game. So let me know what you guys thought. I think this deck is super interesting. I'm just happy to see some stuff that isn't Zodiac. I'm happy to see especially like really old rogue decks do well. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up, and also comment what you guys think in the comment section below. Please check out Silverstorm Gaming, guys. I would highly appreciate that, and subscribe if you have not already.